We're live! Yay! We're so live. We're alive.
We're live! Awesome! Welcome to those of you who are watching. We're really excited. Sorry we had to delay our start last week. But I was just telling Jenny earlier, it's kind of really funny because the first time I did this, I also delayed the first week due to some personal trauma. So far that is a consistent thing that happens with this process is we have a little delay in that first week, but then it's full speed ahead. No more delays to be expected. One of us will always make this happen every week. So here we go.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm so excited for everybody who's decided to do it.
So, looking at the artist way here, the other week we discussed the introduction of the book, which is a hearty amount of material here, definitely worth the read. But that's in another video called The Introduction. And this week we're discussing week 1. So recovering a sense of safety, not security, safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a big topic that she starts discussing right from the very beginning, which is kind of coming face to face with your, she calls it shadow. So basically everything that you're going to be confronted with that has been keeping you from living your full creative potential up until this point, essentially. And there's so many things that contribute to that. And in this first section, she talks about how often if we are artists, we feel, we all are, but when you're somewhat aware of it, maybe like halfway conscious of this desire that you have to create more or be more creative, that you'll find yourself kind of encircling the thing, but not getting into it, not doing the thing. So you'll be hanging around people who are doing what you want to be doing and probably talking a bunch of smack about it. Or you'll be doing stuff that's kind of close to what you want to do, but it's not quite it. She says here something that I underlined, a quote: shadow artists are gravitating to their rightful tribe, but cannot yet claim their birthright. Yeah. So
I also like this one quote that she has on the side of the page, which is, I believe that if it were left to artists to choose their own labels, most would choose none, by Ben Shahn.
Let's see. Good one. As we're discussing this stuff, the point of doing these live videos, I think there's a few reasons. But a large one is to hold space for you to ask any questions that you have if you're apprehensive or don't fully understand something or just want the perspective of a couple people who have just been through it. Feel free. So if you're joining in live, you can pop in with a question. If you're watching it later, you can also drop a line in the comments and we'll be happy to answer anything. But, we're all starting this first chapter today. So you haven't missed anything yet. You can start now. You can start, if you're watching this in a few days, you can start then too. So do not be dismayed if you can't be part of the live discussion. Just continue to participate when you can.
Let's see. Do you want me to move on to the next part?
Yeah.
So this next part of the first week, she really discusses protecting the artist child within, which is perhaps one of the easiest and at the same time most difficult things to connect with. This is a huge point of your artist date, which you're supposed to do every week, which is a connection with your inner child / artist. So it's like, I always think about it as the artist child, which she also describes. She also talks about not bringing in criticism to what you create. Really, in most all of this book, she says, like, don't just leave it, like, no judgment. Don't judge yourself on what you create or why you make it. And she says, judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse. So this is something that is actually quite contradictory to my own practice in learning how to teach art and conduct an art class. Is the formal art class is heavily critique and judgment based and even competitive. And while I found success in some measures with that, I don't really think I was teaching creativity. I was teaching product-driven aesthetics, which is, I think, what a lot of art teachers get caught in. So this is definitely a different experience from like any other arts-based book I've ever looked at or referenced, even in college. None of this was really hit.
And that's interesting to consider, how she was talking about with the shadow artist, how you'll do work that is, kind of similar to what you know in your heart of hearts is who you truly are and like what you want to express. And so I think that's a big part of like that, it's reflected in the system of the way art is thought about and taught and
yeah,
on the larger, more collective scale as well. That's what we're teaching is, it's essentially shadow artists probably created the curriculum, then created the structure.
And then shadow artists had to justify the curriculum to non-artists in like state legislature.
But our non-artists, I think, are all artists.
Truly.
All non-artists would be shadow artists.
Yeah, they're like super shadow artists.
Right, the dark shadows.
They're in the depths.
Deep dark shadows. The man is just a shadow artist.
A dark figure. Yeah, so this is definitely, and this actually is really helping me in my own practice and encouraging playfulness from students and stuff. I had a kid actually email me today saying, can I actually make these little figures in my museum out of pipe cleaners instead of clay? And I was like, yes. She goes, I'm really enjoying working with pipe cleaners now.
That's so
it was a 6th grader too. And I was like, yes, you may. Please do.
Pipe cleaners are dope.
Yeah, I'm going to go get some pipe cleaners.
Oh no, but that's so nice. And I just thinking of a piece of yourself as a child and just like giving it a hug, and protecting it and being like, I'm just gonna hold the space for you to just do whatever you want. It's so lovely. It's helped me so much in so many aspects of my life. Oh my gosh.
And this is, I think, both one of our favorite parts right here, this discussion that she has, a sort of imaginary discussion at the end of this section where a person's saying, but do you know how old I will be by the time I learn to really play the piano /act/paint /write a decent play? And her response is, yes, the same age you will be when you will be if you don't. Just put that one. The same age you will be if you don't.
If you don't. Yeah. Right. Time's going to pass either way. So it might as well pass while moving you towards your dreams and making you feel more connected to yourself and to life. Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. And I would venture to guess, because, and I'm saying this from experience as someone who was doing this prior to this process, I was spending probably more than the amount of time I ended up spending on this process on frittering away my time on stupid shit like social media.
Oh, every day.
Or Netflix. Or not doing anything. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's so much time that can be harvested away from things that are not so good and put into better things. You just gotta overcome the resistance, the blocks, which brings us to nice little segue to the next section of this book, which is a doozy. This section is called Your Enemy Within, Core Negative Beliefs. So this is getting into the mucky muck. This is getting into what it is that's truly holding you back. And it's not a fun place to go in the beginning. So, she really encourages you to be really gentle with yourself. Again, think of yourself as like a little child, and these core negative beliefs are like the monsters under the bed, they're really scary. And to a 3-year-old, they're real as hell. Like they're really real. You're not going to be like, oh, that's not going to help them feel safe. right? So you need to take these things seriously, and really, again, kind of consider yourself as a child. So these are some examples that she lists. I'm not going to read them all. There's 20 here in the book, but of what would be some core negative beliefs that could be really holding you and others back. Everyone will hate me, right? Okay, so let me actually, the beginning of this is I can't be a successful, prolific, creative artist because, and then this is what follows, because everyone will hate me, because I will go crazy, because I will abandon my friends and family, because I don't have enough good ideas, because I will have to be alone, because I will never have any real money. I bet that's a big one. Because my lover will leave me, because I will feel bad because I don't deserve to be successful, because it's too late. If I haven't become a fully functioning artist yet, I never will. And then in italics, none of these core negative beliefs need to be true. And, you know, I think, well, yeah, they might, some of them might be true, but I like how the way she phrased that, where, you know, they don't have to be true.
Yeah.
Right? We might have seen examples of that, or, you know, whatever caused us to have those beliefs in the first place, those might be valid. There's some valid concerns, maybe things to look out for, right? I mean, you could fulfill the starving artist stereotype if you tried hard. It's actually not even that hard.
Yeah. If you really want it to happen, you can make it happen.
But. Yeah, but they don't have to be true. There are ways to work with some of those things, and you can have it all.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm curious if anything, if you're like, wait, so what? You can have it all. That doesn't sound true at all, right? Just note that. But so yeah, she kind of helps us find ways to turn these negative beliefs into what she calls positive alternatives or affirmations, essentially, right? So how I was saying, you know, we've seen examples of artists that are not healthy, right? Or we have maybe always been told that those things are synonymous, right? So some negative aspects of artists that we may hold: she's drunk, crazy, broke, irresponsible, losers, promiscuous, doomed, unhappy, born, not made. That's another one. Thinking that talent or, you know, artistic genius is something that you are born with and can't cultivate. And then some positive alternatives would be artists can be sober, sane, solvent, responsible, user-friendly. That's an interesting one.
I guess not too abstract in that, if that's what they're referring to.
Yeah. They can be faithful, saved, happy, discovered, and recovered. So just starting to get that idea of paying attention to what it is that's going through your head that is keeping you stuck or making you feel whatever. Just paying attention to your feelings, and then try to experiment with, how do I turn that around?
And that's what I think a lot of these exercises that we're going to come up on will be about. Did you want to talk about affirmative weapons more, as they are?
Yes, I was telling Jenny earlier, I got lots to say about affirmations. Let me talk.
And this is for like their first writings too this week, right? They're speaking in affirmations at some point.
Yes. Yeah, you'll be working with them. Yeah, so yeah, we'll get to the blurts. That's part of this section. Cool. So yeah, so these affirmations, the reason I wanted to talk about them specifically is because I had a chip on my shoulder about them when we started. Like, I thought they were the most lame thing ever. Like, any exposure that I had had to them, you know, I just pictured like people really unhappy, but like maybe manic people in a mirror. I will be successful, or I am successful. Like this twitchy, like weird, I don't know. That was just this core negative belief that I had about affirmations. I just really, they rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't understand them. And to me, I had decided, well, if you have to repeat this positive phrase to yourself over and over again, then it must not be really true for you. Like, you wouldn't have to say it over and over like that if you felt like it was true. That's the little nugget that I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
If you felt like it was true, then you wouldn't have to repeat it. Doesn't mean it's not actually true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when looking at these core negative beliefs, those are not true. They don't have to be true, right? Those are the things that aren't true. And so what we're really doing is trying to just realign ourselves with what is true. And I don't think that they even have to be things that are like, that feel too far out or crazy for you. But yeah, the point is just to not close off from them, to entertain the possibility of these positive things, and to recognize that the core negative beliefs are definitely not true. Those things don't have to be true. So, I really came around to them, and I gotta tell you, they work.
Mm-hmm.
And like even today, this isn't like necessarily exactly affirmation, or even maybe necessarily came exactly out of this book, but the way that this book has helped me open to some of these concepts of working with phrases and core negative beliefs and things like that led me to do this little ritual earlier, where I was having some anxiety about this new project that I'm working on. And I just ripped a page out of my notebook and I wrote fear of inadequacy on that piece of paper. I crumpled it up, I put it in a bowl, and I burned it.
Ooh.
And then after that, I got to work on the project and like was really proud of the work that I did and felt really good about it. So, I think the more we can just start to find different ways that work for us of rewiring, right, and realigning, being like, no, this is what I want to be true. This is the truth that I want. So it's just things you want to be true.
Yeah.
Because then you can do the work to make them true more, because they're more part of your consciousness.
I also think she has a list of creative affirmations on page 36. It's in a gray box right there that you're going to use for some of your writings. I think it's really important to realize which of these affirmations you might feel blocked by or unwilling to accept, because I remember reading this the first time. I didn't even read the whole affirmation. I just saw the word God mentioned a couple of times. And I stopped there and I was like, I'm not going to use that to write in my text. Mm-hmm. But then when you feel this resistance to this block, it's not that you should yank it out yet, but you should just realize when it's coming up, because as you write in your daily writings, you're going to have conversations with yourself and say, where is this coming from? Not judging yourself for having it, but just trying to trace the origin, and then what was the conversation that led to this violent of a reaction. Mm-hmm. So, but that does lead us to our tasks.
Oh, not quite yet.
Not quite yet? Oh, I went too far?
Well, I kind of forgot to talk about the blurts.
Oh, the blurts. More important.
Yeah, well, they're going to be part of your tasks, I think.
Along with the affirmations.
Yeah. So this is a task that's not in the list of tasks. She does that sometimes.
The concept.
In the chapter, she'll be like, do this. And then there's 10 things at the end of the chapter that you also have to do. But don't get overwhelmed. We'll explain how it's not as scary as it sounds. But the first thing in the chapter that she says is to pay attention to, as you're working with some of these affirmations, that you listen for the response in your mind. So the objection, right? So if you say, what is one of these? Let's pick a good one. I am allowed to nurture my artist. No, you're not. That's selfish. Mm-hmm. Right? Just listen to your own resistance. If you can channel it into an actual words. If not, if it's more just a feeling, that's fine. But she asks you to write a list of blurts, right? So these are the things that pop up that negate these positive affirmations. She says, these blurts flag your personal negative core beliefs. They hold the key to your freedom in their ugly little claws. make a list of your personal blurts. Yeah.
I'm holding on.
And yeah, she says to use your affirmations as part of your morning pages to help to kind of rewire that stuff.
They really helped me in the morning too. I think because of that fear of the blank page, having something that you can already write down before you start writing down just like clicks it into place. So I would start writing an affirmation. Sometimes I would repeat it several times until other words started to flow, especially if you're doing this just when you wake up.
It can be really difficult to keep your brain focused long. At least for me, that's my thing, is my brain starts going.
And then I start to put, it's really, truly a stream of consciousness, these morning pages. Like, you shouldn't be thinking too much and like taking breaks and putting your pen down. Even though I keep finding, and even right now, I keep finding myself doing it. And I have to write my hand and go, no, keep going.
Just keep the pen on the paper. Keep it. So sometimes I'll even be like, I have to keep writing right now because these are the pages and that is what I'm supposed to do, until stuff starts to actually come out again.
I'll repeat old sentences, and it's kind of like being stuck on a record. I'm like, why am I repeating this? Why isn't this sinking in? Even though it's like falling out. But I would say, I guess the two things that you're doing every week, the morning pages and the artist date. So we're all reading this together right now. And then we're all about to start those exact same things. So
tomorrow morning,
pages, whatever your tomorrow is, your pages. Yeah. And then even if you miss it and can't get it in exactly that time, bring your book with you and get it in somewhere, or find a loose leaf piece of paper, a marker, and a paper towel, and write it down, because this is your medicine. This is good medicine, and it's like, if the same way if you forget an important pill in the morning, you'll try and take it at least in the early afternoon or something.
It's an anchor, but you don't have to give up if you don't get it. It's going to take some time to get into the rhythm of it. And just to reiterate, the morning pages are 3 stream of consciousness pages. We talk more about them in the intro video, which Jenny mentioned, which is on this channel.
I'll put it somewhere. So morning pages and artist date. The artist date, you want to talk about the artist date?
Sure. So again, we talked about it more in depth in the intro video, but just a brief kind of, repeating what that is taking yourself out for a pre-planned date. You have to go alone, but you can really, other than that, you can pretty much do whatever you want, whatever feels like would be nurturing to your artist child, right? It should be playful, and the point is to be with yourself. So, I definitely try to protect it against intrusion.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about like staying at home. If you live with people, you maybe want to let them know that you're going to do something at home if you're going to do that, so they don't interrupt you. Otherwise, you might want to take yourself out where you can definitely find that solitude, and let your mind explore and be inspired.
In my opinion, some of the best artist dates are free. So honestly, if you could do something for free, I remember my first successful artist date. I went to Walmart and was in the candle aisle, and I was smelling each candle for about 45 minutes and just sitting back and thinking about what that reminds me of. I didn't care that the employee gave me a weird look. Like, she had other things that she didn't have to worry about me.
Like, that's a good point, though, about being judged during your artist date. One of my first ones was going out on the beach, and I made a little sand mermaid. And this guy walked by and decided to comment on my sand mermaid, and I really didn't appreciate that because I was really self-conscious about it. But you might look weird, but I think that's a good sign.
That's a great sign.
I think that means you're doing something playful.
And you can find alone time and carve out that alone time, even if like you have kids at home. Like, in the same way, if you asked your partner to watch the kid while you're going to get groceries, maybe take an extra 45 minutes in that grocery run to find something sensory and calming for you.
Yeah.
That could be down to like, I know I keep relating to sensory things, but Maybe you're walking in through a clothing aisle and you're just touching all the different fabrics. Like, I feel like if you're really stuck as to what to do, like you should think about, what is a sensation I can get into? That's at least a good strategy for me if I feel stuck.
Yeah, mine was to find places in nature to go explore. I discovered that I love taking pictures on the beach. That really became like my go-to artist date. It was also easy for me because I live on the beach. But I mean, I think that's part of it. Like, make it easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do something you can actually do.
Yeah.
And that is really fulfilling. Like, I just loved, I felt so good after doing that. And so after a while, I've done other things here and there, but that really became kind of like my go-to.
Yeah, you will get don't feel bad if you find yourself in a repeat artist date. The trick is if you enjoy it, then maybe you should keep going back to it.
And it's working.
Yeah. And then but if you find yourself doing something and you're not having fun, like that was a good experiment, but
Move on.
Don't feel like you have to try and make it work. So especially don't feel like you have to go to a museum to be an artist. That's a big hook. It's like maybe that's not going to be the pure artist date right where you want to be, but maybe you're enjoying sitting on the lawn and listening to like the water fountain instead. Like you can still find joy in the space.
I do love the outdoor VMFA space.
Yes, I do love it too. And I guess the last things that we're going to discuss is the tasks.
Yeah.
So beyond the 2 tasks that you have.
Yeah, but listen, so there's 10 pretty lengthy tasks here, and I don't think we're going to read them all because that would be boring for you, and it's here in the book. If you don't have the book and you want to do them, reach out and I'll send them to you. But the thing is that the goal is to do 5 of the 10, so half. If you do less than that, that's okay too. I mean, obviously, so we have to find this balance where we're like, do the work, but it's okay if you don't, because if you feel too down about not doing as much as you wanted to do, then you'll give up. And that's the worst thing to do. Yeah. Just whatever you do, don't do that. Just do it. But the goal is to do 5 or half of the tasks each week. And she says to pick the ones that you are really drawn to and excited by, and the ones that you really don't want to do and are like, that sounds awful. You probably should do that one too, or 2 if there's a couple that really don't appeal. So you want to find the extremes and do those, and then fill in with the more neutral ones, or maybe leave those for another time. You can always go back. We definitely did at some points go back and do certain tasks that we didn't do. Oh, hi Barley.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
He just had some water.
Yeah. Hi buddy.
Go away, buddy.
He's like, are you done yet? But yeah, so you can go back and do some that you leave out in the first run. Are there any that you want to specifically talk about?
I think the time travel ones are the ones, like there are 4 time travel questions that I really held myself back from in the beginning, but then when I actually did them, I remember actually enjoying them later. It seemed complicated, but it actually was quite simple, and I was just thinking about different points in time. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with doing half, and picking the ones that you like the most and the one that you like least. I definitely skipped over that my first time. But when we have our meeting next week and have our check-in, we'll discuss the tasks that we chose to do. We'll discuss how many pages we were able to get, or how many days in a row are we able to do our tasks in the morning. And then eventually we'll start asking about synchronicity. But when it comes to your morning writing, don't ever feel afraid that someone else will be reading it. If you want to share information, you're always welcome to, but no one's going to force you to repeat what you say every morning. I remember I kind of had that nervousness going in.
Really?
And I thought it was like probably good to say it because there's probably one other person going,
yeah, no, that's going to hold you back a lot. Yeah, those pages are for no one's eyes or ears but yours. Totally your completely private thoughts. It's super freeing and important that you have that trust with yourself.
Yeah. and never let anyone read your pages. Not like that it's not evil or anything to say that, but just that there's no room for judgment or criticism in there. And so if you find a little bit of poetry or something that you like doing, don't let a friend bring criticism to it yet. Like
protect your child.
Yeah, protect your child. So we're not asking for judgment in here. We're asking as a point of accountability. Like we're checking in on each other. Like, hey, did you do your work this week?
Yeah, that's really the whole point of us doing this. Because I mean, really, you can just read all of this. But the point of us being here and blabbering on about this is just to give you a place to motivate, give you a little extra motivation, maybe just support and encouragement to do this really important work. Because the more I experience the benefit of the work that I've already done and I'm currently doing, the more excited I get to share that with other people, because it's crazy. It's crazy magical what can occur when you dedicate yourself to yourself.
And there's such a reward in sharing it too, and like knowing that you have another friend out there who is helping themselves. And like, it's I'm just happy that we're starting to build this. Like, you've really done so much to build this community, and I'm so happy to be aboard.
Dude, you did too, because you were showing up for me. I may have given up if I didn't have somebody consistently showing up with me. It's hard to say what would have happened, but the point is that, the more people that do this, the more supportive community we're creating for each other, because it shifts your whole mindset, not only about your own creativity, but about others too. It like creates a safe place, really. Oh, unstable connection. Well, good thing we're almost done.
Yeah.
I think Barley says we're done. I think we're done.
Okay.
Barley says bye-bye.
Okay, Barley, you want to say bye for real?
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
My turn. Attention for me.